Okay, Nick and Andy, huge game coming up in the Champions League knockout phase. Second leg, Real Madrid host Manchester City at the Santiago Bernabeu. What a first leg we had, by the way. I mean, Real made the most of yet another City implosion late on. City were leading 2-1, two big mistakes. Real win 3-2. I mean, this was pure drama, Nick. We've seen it before between these two teams. They play each other in the knockout rounds all the time in the Champions League now, season after season. But we've seen it before from Man City as well, that collapse. We've seen it against Feyenoord, Brentford this season, lots of other times. But for this second leg in particular, I mean, Real could get a couple of defenders back, a centre-back and right-back. It might be too quick the turnaround. But, I mean, what do you make of this game? What are your feelings after that first leg? Because at the moment, it seems like only one team's going to go through, and that's Real Madrid, given the devastating nature of that comeback. Can City really go again and win in the Bernabeu? Because it's so hard to do that.
It's very difficult to do, and I think we've seen again, and this happens to managers, and I guess you have to accept it because of the greatness they have. This is someone whose idealism cost him, and that late play in a Champions League game against Real Madrid from a very young right back, Enrico Lewis, is a guy who didn't need to be on the field. And yes, he completed almost every single one of his passes, but this is it's Trent Alexander-Arnold Jr. in a sense. And you have him out there in a game that you were winning, in a game that you're protecting an advantage after playing at home. And I don't know what that play was, because I am not a defender. In my life, I have not been a defender, but I do better than that. I do better than a lunge. It's just mistakes that are avoidable. And in that case, I felt like it was naive on both the player and the manager.
Yeah, and it only came on because Akanji was injured as well. So again, it's Andy, like a lot of injuries this time of the season. Yep. Real's had them defensively, City's had it, and it's just that rust almost across the entire City team. Yep. Like they can click in for like half an hour, then for another 15 minutes, they just collapse. And it almost seems like the subs off the bench in the first leg, the energy dropped and just the levels dropped considerably. And maybe a draw was a fair result in the first leg, but Real were just more ruthless and clinical and kind of everything that City aren't right now.
Yep. I'm going to say what I've been thinking all season. We've probably all been thinking this season. City just aren't any good this year. They're not. We're talking about a team that is Erling Haaland, keeping them together when he can score a boatload of goals. We're talking about Kevin De Bruyne is the other really recognizable star that's still in that team, and he is clearly not the player that he's been. And the rest of the team is Jack Grealish, who hasn't been in form in 2 years, Savinho, who we have no idea if he's a Premier League player, Bernardo Silva has been very good, but he's a very, very specific type of player when the system is running well. John Stones in mid. This is just not a good team at the moment. And so I think I've reached the point where I'm no longer expecting them to just turn it on at some point this season until the end of the year. This is very clear that this is a much longer term fix and probably rebuild for Manchester City. And that's why I think they were so active in the January transfer window. It wasn't the injuries and it wasn't to save this season. It was, I think, an admission of, hey, we got a lot of work to do and we're going to get a 6-month head start on it before the summer gets here. And so we're seeing, I think what we see the rest of the season is Pep trying to either get those new players to understand the way that he wants to play or working out what the new Manchester City is going to be going forward. And so I just look at the next few months and even the second leg here, obviously they're going to try and win it, but it's kind of experimentation time for Manchester City. And so I have almost no expectations for them between now and May.
I mean, Nick, they're no mugs, City. These players know, and they've come out and spoken about it, and Pep's spoken about it. It's not the same as previous seasons. They understand they're not playing at the same level. They have to change things. Personnel's going to change. You look at someone like Ederson. Andy mentioned it, Kevin De Bruyne, bringing Gundogan back, even Bernardo Silva. A lot of these players have naturally kind of reached the end game of their kind of status as top world-class players. And that's okay. And it's happened in great teams over the years, right? Where you keep them on a year or so longer than you probably should because of what they've done in the past. But City are now in this situation. How do they regain some confidence levels in themselves, knowing all of these things are going on? But also, how can they control a game better? Because that's what we want to see against Real Madrid in the second leg, right? If you're City, how do you maybe go up a goal through Haaland or a bit of moment of brilliance from Foden or De Bruyne, etc.? but then how can you control it and stop these counterattacks and stop giving up big chances? Because they haven't found a way to do it. I thought in the first leg, they kind of did with John Stones playing as a holding midfielder at times to limit some of the chances, but that's the key to this second leg, isn't it? Just controlling the amount of chances you give up. And I don't think City are ever going to stop being City in the truest form of what they want to be. So they're going to give up these big chances playing that way.
And listen, the best thing that could happen for them to not have to play Newcastle at the weekend, because it's not a game they can skip over. And that's a big issue for them. I think there was a little bit of a storm here. Again, I know he's still adjusting, but if Nico Gonzalez doesn't get rocked in the FA Cup, does he come in instead of Kovacic late? Or are they both playing? I do think that they're also playing Real Madrid is something that we should mention. This is a very good team that has been in this spot before. So when you talk about the second leg, can you be healthy, right? Are you healthy? Not can you be. Of course you can. But are you healthy? And if so, can you get that early goal? 2-2, I would have felt fine, to be honest with you. 2-2, I got to be one goal better than Real Madrid. And let's see, we've got the best forward on the planet. But yeah, I'll tell you what, I didn't even think Real Madrid were that clinical. I thought up until late, Vinicius struggled mightily. I know that it was all the talk about how the banner motivated him. Well, it didn't for like 60 minutes. Bellingham missed a gorgeous chance that he usually makes. He wasn't at his best, and Mbappe scored on a lucky goal. So you better have it. And even if you do, it's just a big ask.
Yeah, it is, right, Andy. I mean, what you go in prediction score-wise for this second leg? Because when Nick mentioned there was a lot of chances that Real missed as well. And like you look at the XG, they could have scored 5 or 6 on another day. And we know that they can do that with that front four. I guess the only saving grace for City is we're still not sure at the back for Real Madrid who's going to be fit to start. They look pretty good in the first leg, but are they going to be able to roll that out and do that again with everything on the line for City in a knockout second leg like this? What do you think, mate?
Yeah, I think they will be able to because of the guy that they've got in charge, Carlo Ancelotti. And that's not to say that he's better than Pep in any way, because they both have their strengths, they both have their weaknesses. But he has shown, and we saw from this team, to Nick's point there at the very end, you can see how Madrid play much better in the second leg. You can see how Madrid play much better going through the knockout rounds of the Champions League this season. I look at City and I don't see, well, where does the improvement come from? Do they all start pulling their own weight? Do they all start performing better at the same time after months of going off the boil? I just don't think that's going to happen. So I look at the second leg. I think we'll see Madrid with more control, with a little bit more possession. City have to chase the game just a little bit, obviously, because they're behind on aggregate. And when they do that, we know that plays into Real Madrid's hands, because that puts them on the opportunity to counterattack, which they don't get to do a ton at home. And so City will provide one of the rare opportunities for them to do that. So I think Madrid will win the second leg, obviously win the tie. I'll go 3-1 in the second leg. And so we'll make it, let me do the math, 6-3 on aggregate. Did I get that right? And obviously Madrid go through.
Nick, what are you going for?
I think this game will be a tie, and that's obviously not good enough for City. I think this game has 1-1 or 2-2 written all over it. Right now, I just look at Real Madrid, and we're waiting on their injury updates as well. But their bench was very limited for the last game, and I think City will have a trick or two up their sleeve. But again, it's one of those things where, hey, we drew, but it wasn't enough.
I'm going 2-1 to Man City. I think the big boys are going to turn up. And I do think Real Madrid are more vulnerable than perhaps we think, and just because of the injury issues. And they have shown signs throughout the Champions League this season and in La Liga that they can be caught cold a little bit. But that obviously means it's going to go to extra time and penalty kicks. And I think Real Madrid will find a way. They're probably going to win on penalty kicks, just like they've done in the past before against City. And this is their competition. They own this. They always find a way to get it done. And I think this is going to be another case of Ancelotti just tweaking something to helping them through this. And maybe their destiny is to win yet another Champions League trophy. Let's wait and see. So head over to Pro Soccer Talk on NBCSports.com. Huge game. Real Madrid against Man City. We'll have the how to watch info, live analysis, reaction, updates and much more on this massive game, not only in this tournament for both these teams, but for their seasons as well. It really seems that it really hinges on a positive result here in Madrid in the second leg. It's going to be a beautiful game.
Hi, I'm Rebecca Lowe, and as we head towards the end of an exciting Premier League season, make sure you like and subscribe on the NBC Sports YouTube channel for more content like this.